Pam Turner. This is Academic Coaching for World Changers. Today is the 10th of April, and our session today is on how to answer the question. So it's, 410, how to answer the questions, the social work questions. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to follow, this is what we're going to follow. I'll put it in your chat box so you can, as we go through questions. So you were taught this, you should have been taught this in the methods class. Now, I teach it at the bachelor's level. I don't teach it at the master's level. So I'm not sure where you learned it. But one of you, you had a social work methods class. That's part of the requirements. And the goal was how we work, what we do. So this is called the social work helping process. This is what the acronyms are based on. So I can't do the acronyms. If it works for you, it's fine. I just can't. I don't have enough brain matter. And even TDC does put them in order. I don't have enough brain matter for that either. Sorry. And this works very well. So I've used this for many, many years, and it works very well. So, and this is what you were taught. So remember, safety always comes to me back up. I always teach assess, 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 assess. I don't care if it's the first question, next question, should question, best question. If there's any more information I can gather, I'm going to, right? I'm going to ask. We get paid to be nosy, right? That's our job, to keep asking the questions, keep asking the questions. Who else can ask you, like, how much money you had in the bank? Or did you and your husband have sex last night? Like, we get paid for that stuff, right? So use it. That's what it's for. Assess, 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 assess. So then, if the question is high in feelings, angry, upset, mad, anything that I can't assess, right, then I always have to deal with the feelings first. Okay, so first the feelings. If I turn the camera on today and I'm boo-hooing, right, surely you wouldn't say, well, Dr. Pam, stop crying and let's go on. I'm hoping one of you would say, are you okay? Do you want to reschedule? Okay, so surely one of you would. Maybe not, maybe it's just wishful thinking. But that's what we do. If someone came in your office and they were mad and they were screaming, you wouldn't try to you wouldn't just like go to the intervention, would you? You're gonna, we're human. That's what we're gonna do. So in the questions, if it's full of feelings, my answer has to have feelings. Acknowledge them. Something about the feelings. Always, 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 if it has feelings in the question. Okay. Safety trumps everything. Remember that. So not necessarily always the client safety. It can be my safety as well. Safety comes first. So what that might look like is if a question talks about the if the client, you walk in the room and the client is swinging a chair leg and he's trying to hit you. That's safety. We're not going to like reason with him, right? He's getting out, I'm getting out, and somebody's getting out. I need to be safe. My safety, your safety, the client's safety. Okay. Then I'm going to, so I always start with assess. If I can't assess because it was feelings or safety, we're good then. So I'm going to remember that we always plan with the client, never for the client. Okay, we plan with the client. Okay, so whether this is an individual, a group, a family, or community, right? We do a needs assessment and the plan with the client. The client is the community, same process. Then remember, termination starts at the beginning. So the minute we write that treatment plan, we're trying to get rid of them. Yeah, exactly. So those hospital questions that you always see, you're not surprised by those, right? That's because, that's always trying to get us out. All of us are. Our goal is to teach people how to fish, not to give them fish, right? That we are never going to be in their lives forever. Our goal is to work our way out of their lives. So when a client comes in, you say, you know that in 12 weeks, your session will be over. Or my interns, especially, it's hard for my interns that I'm, sometimes supervising. I'll remind them, you got to start termination, right? Because the closer the relationship, the harder it is. But all of your clients, unless you're in like a long-term residential facility or something like that, they're going to be gone. Okay, so it starts at the beginning. So now we're going to use this in our vignettes. Okay, so that's what it looks for. In the scenarios, we're going to use that. A couple of rules, okay, and I'm saying mostly they're hard and fast. Okay, so mostly. Very rarely can you do nothing. It wouldn't be on the question on the test if you didn't have to do anything. Okay, so it's very rarely that do nothing is the right answer. Also, then when it comes to my seek supervision, I am the very best social worker there is, the very best, and so are all of you. The refer to your supervisor is very rarely the right choice.
Hello?
It's going to be right choice if there's counter transference. Somebody want to teach today?
Okay, dear.
I can't see who it is. Somebody, if you want to teach today, I don't mind, whoever you are. Oh yeah, I see you signed in as guest user. Okay, so be sure you mute yourself. Okay, so again, seeking, going to the supervisor. We don't get that option, guys. Sorry. Okay, so the goal is that we are going to figure it out ourselves. So counter transference, always, always, always. Okay, so then my feelings get in the way. I don't like the person. I do like the person, right? Though that I gotta go to the supervisor. Now, if it's transference and the client says to you, it's your first session, he says, well, Dr. Pam, I really think you're attractive, or I'm quite fond of you. Then I'm going to say something like, that's part of the therapeutic relationship. That's not uncommon, right? That's part of it, to have that bond, that feeling. That's really okay. Set the boundaries, leave it at that. Now, if I've been seeing him 4 or 5 weeks and he is, bringing me gifts or trying to get close to me or like, something inappropriate, then I'm going to seek supervision. And it's more often just to cover me, right? Because I don't need a he said, she said, and he said, Dr. Pam, blah, blah, blah. We don't need that, right? So it's more often for me more than anything. But my feelings, and that's the right answer for the test. And in the real world, when you don't have a supervisor, when you are in private practice, if you find that something's not fitting right here, I like them too much, or I don't like them at all, seek consultation. You don't have to pay for it. Call a friend. Most of my friends are in the profession, right? And I'll call you up and say, hey, this is what's going on, right? What do you think? Of course, I am not sharing any demographic information because I'm not violating HIPAA, but that's really okay. You can barter. You can barter if you're in a rural area. The client has to ask first, and also if it is the money, I don't say the dinero, if it's the common, if that's how the other professionals operate. Okay, so if they take chickens, if the doctor takes chickens and the dentist takes chickens, then you can take chickens as well. Client has to ask us, so remember that. Same thing in a rural setting, okay? So you're the only social worker in the place and you've got someone who comes in and they've got anorexia and you have no idea. It's out of your scope. The assumption is in a small area, you have no one else to refer to, right? So if it says, refer to another social worker or talk to another social worker, the assumption is they know as much as you do. So that is not the right answer. If it says consult with a social worker who has a specialty in this area, that's okay, right? The right answer also might be then refer to or get supervision from another profession. It's really okay if the nurse is my supervisor helping me through this anorexic case, because the assumption is there's no one else out there but me. However, even in the rural cases, if there's no one out there but me, and you know what? My ex comes in, still can't see him. He's just out of luck, right? If I've seen him naked, can't see him again. That's the rule. When you can seek supervision, that is going to be always when you are an intern or new. So if the question says specifically you're an intern, then you definitely can seek supervision. If it doesn't say that, then you cannot. Okay. I'm going to pull up some questions. I'm going to pull up from a couple of different places just so we can see how they're written and written differently. I don't really care if you get it right or wrong. That does not mean I know you want to pass the test, but that's not the goal for today. The goal is to learn how to answer the questions. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. So of course, recall questions are pretty easy, right? I know what that looks like, and I can either I know it or I don't. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do, and again, we'll all get a chance to answer, but I just kind of want to talk through this and what it looks like and how I teach it. Okay. So first of all, I say it's a vignette, and I'm thinking, okay, it's a long and oh my gosh. So I have to understand the question. Do not look at any of the answers until I understand what they're asking me. And sometimes that takes a long time, right? And when I say understand, I don't mean repeat verbatim what it says. I mean understand the question. So, and again, please don't put any answers in the chat box, guys. A social worker in a nursing home is asked to see a client who's experiencing mild depression and difficulty sleeping and eating. The client usually has a good appetite and participates in recreation activities, but for the past 2 weeks has declined to participate in activities offered by the faculty, the facility. Wow. The client was previously diagnosed with chronic schizophrenia. The social worker should. And I'm always going to think it's a first question, whether it says should, would, best. Okay. But again, I need to go back to the question. What is it asking me? In my mind, I'm thinking, what should the KSAs are they trying to measure? So I know I'm a nursing home, right? I'm asked to see a client who's experiencing, he's got some mild depression, he's not sleeping or eating. It's been going on for 2 weeks, right? That reminds me of like depression. That's what I'm thinking. I haven't looked at the answers yet. Declined to participate in activities offered by the faculty facility, and he was diagnosed previously with chronic schizophrenia. So chronic schizophrenia means he has it all the time, right? Chronic acute means short and sweet. Chronic diabetes is chronic. I've had it for a long time. So now my first thought is, so what's different? The social worker in me goes, well, what's different, right? So then I'm going to go through my question. So review the client, require the client to participate in activities. B, review the patient's medication compliance. C, monitor the situation until the client requests help. Or D, find alternative activities for the client to attend. Okay. In my mind, I'm thinking assess, right? I'm just thinking how can I need to find out what's going on, right? What do I do? So require the client to participate in activities. That is out, right? Because that's against code of ethics, client self-determination. That's his choice, right? Review the patient's medication compliance. I like that. I like that because I know he's a chronic schizophrenia and something has changed, right? I know that, right? I can see that in the question. C, monitor the situation until the client requests help. I'm gonna keep that in there for a minute, but there's no guarantee he'll ever ask for help. Okay. And then D, find alternative activities for the client to attend. So first of all, that's already intervening, isn't it? Right. And I really don't want to intervene yet. I'm still assessing. And if I go back to the question, so the activity, the thing is not just the activity, it's all the other part, right? The mild depression, difficulty sleeping and eating. So if I just talk about the recreational activities, I've ignored the rest of the question. So A and D are out, right? Okay, so now between B and C. And I'm going to follow the step all the time, even if I know the answer. Even if I know, I'm going to follow the steps. Okay, read the question, rule out 2, right? I'm thinking assess. So now I'm down to B or C. Review the patient's medication compliance or monitor the situation. So I already proved in the question that he's a chronic schizophrenia and something has changed. And of these 4 choices, the one thing I'm going to ask him first is about his medication. So B is my answer. Okay. Anybody struggle with that? How I got there? The process of how I got there? We're good? Good. Okay.
That was good with that one.
145. Okay. Again, just listen to me, guys. A 25-year-old male client has signed a release of information for an agency to receive a psychological report from the local mental health center. Contained within the report are references to previous treatment at other settings. It is within the principle of confidentiality for the agency to do what? Okay. When it says principles of confidentiality, my head goes code of ethics. Code of ethics, right? That's what they're measuring, code of ethics. Make sure I understand the question. Okay. He's 25. He's already signed the release of information for an agency to receive the psychological. So he's already signed the release for an agency to receive the psychological report from the local mental health center. Contained within the report are previous references to previous treatment. Okay. So in what I get from the local mental health center also has information, it sounds like, from other treatments. Do you see that? Okay. So the question is then, okay, what am I going to do first? The question asking me which one within the principles of confidentiality, what am I going to do? Okay. So A, contact the treatment facility for a report. I know that he just got released from there, so maybe. B, contact the mental health center and have them release the report to the agency. C, contact the client and have him execute a release for each setting. Or D, notify the client notify the client the letters have been sent out to see the other treatment settings for report. Now, you and I know in the real world, if those records are already right there, we're going to probably just keep them, right? We're not going to say a word about it. Make our life easier. That's what we're going to do. But for the test, you're not going to do that, right? So remember, do not bring in what happens in your office into this test. Unless it says, according to, let me see somebody, according to Zena, your first and last name, and it's not the right answer. Okay, I don't care what your agency does. So now I'm going to do what I did already. I'm going to rule out 2. Okay, so I'm not going to notify the client that the letters have been sent. I might do that, but not first. All right, I'm assessing him. So I'm not going to do that first. Okay, so let's see. A, contact the other treatment facility for a report, or contact the mental health center and have them forward the reports. Okay, so this is one that I get confused. What facilities? What? Okay, so I know that he signed the release from the local mental health center. That's where he came from, right? So then 2 says contact them, right, and have them forwarded. Okay, so I'm going to keep 2 in. So A, contact the other treatment facility for a report. I don't have a release, right? There's nothing in there that says I have a release for that. Okay, so now I should be down to probably B or C. Okay, so then he's signed a release from the mental health facility. So what do I want? I'm going back to the question. So it's within the principles of confidentiality. Okay, so if I want the information from the previous treatment centers, I need to ask him, right? You got that? So my answer is C. So I know in the real world, they right there. Why are we going, right? So I live in a small town too. Could you go ahead and just fax me those records over? I swear it happens all the time. And that's not okay. Not okay. Not okay. Okay. Okay.
Dr. Pam,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you that particular question. Since he had signed the release already, why would we need to get him to execute another release?
Where did he assign a release from?
For the mental health.
The local mental health center, right?
Yes.
Where do I want records from?
The other facilities.
So then.
Okay, because I thought initially it was saying that there were other reports included in.
They are. They sure are. They are. That's exactly what it says. But because they're in there, I need to still get them for myself and ask the client.
Because he only gave us permission for the local, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
The
So
local
yeah,
mental
for
health
the
center should
local.
not have sent all of that over,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
They should have only sent their records, but they sent everything. So I can't send them back. Okay. So then to get that information and to look at it, I need to make sure I have his permission. Okay.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And this one I think was typically like confusing because I'm trying to figure out what mental health center is what, like which one? There's so many things in there. So understanding the question was the key, right? Because the release was only from the local mental health center, and that's all they should have sent me. But when I opened the folder, there are references to previous treatment in other settings. So they sent all this other stuff. Okay. Good. Okay. Okie dokie. Andre, since you were just on, be brave and take this one for me. Go through my process.
Okay. We're doing number 146.
Well, we are.
Okay.
A social worker is employed after hours on a crisis telephone line. And while there, the social worker receives an anonymous call from someone who is concerned about the friend's self-destructive behavior and mentions the name of the friend. The social worker recognizes the name as that of a client that he's currently treating. I would have to read that 7 times, make sure I understood that. Okay. So the information given by the caller has not been shared by the client in therapy. The social worker should. And again, I'm thinking first. What would I do first? No matter what it says, that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to go back and explain the question. So Andre, tell me what's happening in the question.
In the question, it looks like that, okay, a friend is called themselves helping someone. The social worker actually recognizes the name as someone he's already dealing with in treatment, but he's working a crisis telephone line.
Mhm.
And at this time, the friend is saying self-destructive behavior, but not saying that it's immediate.
Where did you see that?
Say again.
Where did you see that it's not immediate?
I'm saying what all it says is that, okay, let me go back.
Did you
Well,
put
there, the
words in
social
there?
worker
Because I didn't see that.
I didn't see that.
Oh, then we don't add it. Okay. It doesn't
Okay.
say that either way. We don't add things. That's all we know. It's in those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines.
Okay.
Don't add things. Okay. So now, right, I'm on call. I get a crisis call and they're talking about my client. And I'm like, oh God, what do I do? And seek supervision is not a choice, right? So I got to figure out what I'm going to do. Okay. So first of all, let's rule out. Tell me 2 things that you're not going to do. There's a D. I'm
Well,
sorry.
one is B. Oh, I can see D now. So, well, there we go. Comfort decline with
If I make it a
additional
little
information
smaller, it might
at
be
the
on the
next
same
section.
page, but it might be too small. So
Inform the caller that the friend is in treatment to deal with the issues. Well, that's most definitely no.
okay, so B
Because
is
that's
out.
confirming. Yeah.
Okay, B is out. Okay.
Encourage the caller to share the concerns directly with the client and suggest the caller seek help. D, probe for additional information about the client from the caller to help in focusing further sessions. Well, D is most definitely out.
So now you're down to A and
And C.
C. Okay. So same process, guys. Even when you know the answer, please, same process. Okay. A and C. I'm going to compare the 2 to each other, right? To see how they're different. Okay. Okay. So
Confront
how
the
would,
client with additional information at the next session.
okay.
But I wouldn't do that because we're dealing with it here and now. So I would do C, encourage the caller to share the concerns directly with the client and suggest the client seek help.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So going back to my question, what are they measuring in this question? What are they measuring to see if I know?
Um, um, confidentiality.
Code of ethics.
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. I don't know why I miss code of ethics. I don't ever get any of those questions because they look like this. Okay. So then that's what they're saying. Do you know? Do you know the code of ethics? Do you know that that's a violation of HIPAA? I can't say anything. Okay. So then the only thing I can do is I'm wearing this hat right now as the crisis caller. So then I'm going as a crisis answer. So I'm going to take care of the crisis in front of me. Okay. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. $149. Who wants this one? Diana, was that you?
Can you hear me?
I can. You want this question?
Okay, let me try. Okay.
Okay. At 149, after a fight with a family member, a client is court ordered to receive treatment. During the initial meeting with the social worker, the client describes frequent outbursts of anger and thoughts of seriously harming a family member. What should the social worker do first? Okay, again, don't look at those answers. I should just be reading the question. I should have a good idea of what to look for just by reading the question, right? I gotta know what they're asking me. Okay, so tell me what they're asking me in your own words.
So they're asking me what I should do knowing that this client is court ordered and describe frequent outbursts of anger. So they're asking me what I should do at that moment first with this
What would I
client.
do first? And in my head, I am still thinking, is there anything else I need to ask? Any more information I need to gather before I do anything? Okay.
So I'm assessing, I keep doing assessment.
Okay.
Exploring. Okay. So A, explore the client's commitment to treatment. B, consult with coworkers about the client's statements. C, refer the client to an anger management group. D, determine the jurisdictional requirements for this matter. So
what would I rule out? Rule out first, always.
I rule out refer the client to an anger management group. It's something that maybe I will do, but not first.
Okay.
B, consult with coworkers about the client's statements. I will rule out that one.
So which two are you down to?
I'm between A and D.
Okay, so A and D. So I'm going to compare the two to each other, see how different they are.
A is assessing, exploring the client's commitment to treatment. I know it's court ordered, so I don't know how engaged he is with the treatment.
Okay.
And how willing he is to do it. And D, determine the jurisdictional requirements for this matter. That's for the law and see what are the requirements. I think the answer is A.
Prove it to me in the question. What words in the question support that answer?
That the client is court ordered to receive treatment.
Okay.
And it's the initial meeting, it's just the first meeting. So I want to know where the client is at.
Okay, but you missed the part about he's got describes a frequent outburst of anger and his thoughts of seriously harming a family member.
Oh, okay.
And it sounds like he's court ordered, so he might have had some problems before. I'm just thinking.
So it's safety.
Okay.
For the safety. So it'll be D.
Yes, there we go. I assessed, right? I assessed. So do you see that? Determine the jurisdictional requirements. The question says he's court ordered, right? So I'm going to call the judge and say, or the judges, whoever, and say, hey, I've court ordered this treatment and he's threatened his family. What can we do? Okay. So that's because he's court ordered to be there. So, and I was looking for like, call 911, duty to warrant, all those things, but that wasn't one of my options, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were right. Safety first. Safety trumps everything. Okay. And seriously harming. So D is still assessing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A is assessing also, but D is assessing what am I supposed to do because I'm coming from the court.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Did anyone else struggle with that one, guys? Come on, ask me, talk to me. Jennifer, I saw you nod your head. Talk to me. Unmute. Go ahead.
Because just like Diana said, I was thinking safety, but I'm looking for like 911 and who to call, and maybe it was
wasn't
just
there. So it wasn't there, right? So then, what would you have thought next?
I was thinking the same thing about A, but the thing is that with the commitment, it's hard to ascertain because they're already court ordered. So, it's.
I mean, that's not true, right? Because even if he's court ordered, he still has the right to not participate, right? That happens all the time. So if he chooses not to participate, again, I'm just going to go back and tell the court he chose not to participate. Okay. However, if you explore the client's commitment, did we leave out that he just threatened to like hurt the family that he's thinking about? Did we like? Well, how committed are you? Once you murder your family, do you think you'll keep coming back? Okay. Why did you stray away from D? Anybody? What was it about that scared you? Anybody?
That you would have to contact the court.
Okay. You know what? The judge puts on his underwear the same way you did. Have you been to court?
Yes.
Okay. So remind yourself that you're a professional the same way he is. Right. So I and I'm going to argue with him, right? Because I know families. I know what I do. I am good at what I do. So, we're going to have a conversation. I haven't been arrested yet. But my job is to advocate for my client, right? So whether it's the judge or anybody else, my job is to advocate. So I'm going to advocate. And if I think that's not right, I think it's unfair, then I'm going to tell the judge. Doesn't mean I win, but at least it's going to be on the record. Dr. Pam Turner said, right? Little transcripts. That's all I want is proof that I did what I was supposed to do. Okay. So for the test, okay, you are the best of the best. So the person in this one would not be intimidated by the judge. Okay. Okay. Number 150. So this is more of a recall question as opposed to a vignette. Okay. Curtis, are you there? Yo, Curtis. Okay. Who would like to volunteer for this one? Nicole, thanks. Come on down. You're the next contestant. Can you answer, Nicole? Are you working?
Yeah, which number?
We're going to do 150. In working with a client, a social worker faces a conflict between two ethical principles that point to different solutions. How should the social worker resolve this dilemma? Okay, so again, making sure I understand what it's asking me. Okay, this is a code of ethics question, right? And the KSA, what they're measuring is, do I know the ethical decision-making steps? Right? There are steps to that. Okay, so A, follow the principles of truthfulness and full disclosure. B, use the problem-solving method. C, analyze the impact of each principle. Or D, determine the client's preference. Okay, I've got to resolve this dilemma. What would I not do?
D.
Okay, D's out, good.
And Analyze the impact. B, use a problem-solving model.
Is that in or out?
Out. Oh, yeah.
Let's keep B in just for a bit, okay?
Okay.
A sounds really good, but I'm not sure what truthfulness and full disclosure have to do with me resolving my ethical dilemma, right?
Right.
And I'm not going to call the client up and say, hey, you know what? I'm not sure what to do with you. Can we process? Doesn't work that way either, okay? So I know that A and D are out. Okay, now I've got B and C, use the problem solving method, or C, analyze the impact of each principle. Let's go back to the question. In working with a client, a social worker faces a conflict between two ethical principles that point in different solutions. How should the social worker resolve this? Let me just show you, and I'll put it in the box if you're not aware of the ethical dilemma steps. So it used to say, be sure and talk to your supervisor. That is not true. We don't seek help from anybody else anymore. We are the best, the best, the best. So I'll put this in the chat box. So it's in APGAR. I haven't seen it in TDC, but these are the steps of ethical problem solving. Identify whether there's the ethical dilemma or an issue. 2, identify the key values and the principles involved. Right? So I'm looking at those. 3, rank the values of ethical principles in your judgment, right? The most relevant, I'm going to rank them. Then I'm going to develop an action plan to deal with this dilemma. I'm going to implement my plan, right? Based on the code of ethics. And then I'm going to come back and monitor. Was this the best choice? Maybe it wasn't the best choice. Okay, I'll put this in the chat box. So these are the ethical problem solving. And again, if you went to school a long time ago, or you had a professor who did not learn any things in school, you might not know that you don't contact the supervisor or colleague anymore. You are smart. You got this all by yourself. Okay, so let's go back to the question. So first, I'm going to determine whether there's an ethical problem or dilemma. Is there a conflict of values, rights, etc.? Identify the key value and problem and principles involved. Okay. So then, now I'm down to B or C.
I'm gonna go with C.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. That's what I would do. Okay, and I'm thinking first, right? First, what I'm going to do, I've got these 2 things. So how do I resolve it, right? I'm going to go through those steps, the problem solving steps. I'm sorry, the ethical decision making steps. Okay.
Cool.
Y'all good with that one?
I am. Thank you for explaining it.
Okay. This is recall 151. Somebody volunteer for me?
I'll do it.
Thank you. You see it?
Yep. During an interview, a social worker says to a client, a moment ago, you were talking about your wife when you switched to your daughter's behavior, and now you're discussing your coworkers. I'm having trouble following you. Could we go back to the subject of your wife? The social worker is using which of the following techniques? A, negative feedback, B, confrontation, C, reflection, D, clarification.
Rule out. Make sure you understand the question first, right? Okay, and then you're going to rule out.
So it's not negative feedback.
Okay. What is negative feedback, by the way?
Negative feedback is when you're telling someone what they're doing is negative.
That is true, but negative feedback is a family systems term. Okay, so families have feedback loops. Remember that? So a negative feedback does not stop the process. Positive feedback stops the process. That's under family theories, and that's on that video. So just so you know what that means. Okay.
So
So
I would cross
not
out A.
You would.
Right. I would definitely cross out C,
Okay. So now you're down to B or D.
B, B or D.
Okay. Compare the two and prove it to me in the question.
Okay, so confrontation is when you are calling them out on something that they've said or done.
Got it.
Clarification is when you don't have a true understanding of something and you just want to find the answer or clarity as to what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going to pick D, but let me tell you why I'm picking D from the question.
Good, good, good.
When
What
the
words?
person is saying, I'm having trouble following you. Could we please go back to the subject of your wife?
Yes, 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 yes. Remember, clarification, you can do that anytime. I do not want to sit in a 55-minute session with someone and I'm thinking that this word means something else and it means something totally different. Like, what? Okay, so it's really okay. And especially my kids, and when I was over teenagers, I'd say, so exactly what does that word mean? Okay, because I have no clue. So I want to make sure that we're on the same page. So I always want to clarify, and that's all that is, clarifying. Okay, so Nadia, if it was reflection, what would it look like?
So I would think reflection would look like they would be looking back at something that happened in the past. Or
reflection always includes feelings. So that's one of those active listening skills, right? And reflection is one of the ones you'll see most often. So I'm going to give back the feelings the client didn't say. Okay, so he was talking about your wife, you switched to your daughter. I might say something like, wow, it sounds like this is really hard for you because, you keep discussing both of these. I'm going to put in a feeling that they didn't give me. Okay. So that is reflection. It always includes a feeling that most often the client didn't say. Okay. Good. Thank you. 152, what medication is most likely used to treat bipolar disorder? Oh my God, lithium is not on there. What are we going to do? Oh my God, this is lithium and it's not there. So remember, if it's not lithium, then we're going to use one of our anti-seizures, right? A Tegretol, a Depakote, what else? Any of the anti-seizures. Okay, so lithium has been around forever, and if lithium is there, lithium is the right choice. But if it's not there, don't freak out, because in the real world we're using Depakote. The lithium, that kind of poisons your body and stuff. Who knows? So it's like kind of swung them a lithium battery. So it really does. You can die of listening poisoning. Blood work has to be done. It damages both your kidney and your liver. Okay, so if lithium is not an option, then Depakote is my option. Okay, good with that? How many of you freaked out because lithium wasn't there? Oh,
can you tell me what Geodon is again?
Geodon is an antipsychotic.
So that would be like Risperidol.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Okay. Oh my God, it's an indirect question. It's in that community thing. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle it, right? Volunteer. Zena, come on down. You there? Zena,
I'm here. I'm here. Yes.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. I can see it. Thank you.
The board of directors of a nonprofit social work agency plans the agenda for its meeting. What is the most appropriate topic for the board to consider? I don't know, Dr. Pam, I haven't a clue. Okay, so first of all, remember, especially on my LC, there are lots of supervision and administrative questions, because the assumption is that you're at the top. So then this is still indirect practice, but it's called administrative questions. So indirect has both community and then, administration and supervision. So both of those are indirect practice. Okay. So then, the board of directors have a nonprofit agency
So
plans. You can't see it?
I see it. I see it.
Okay. So go ahead. I was going to read the question again, and
Yes,
then you can
yes,
answer.
yeah, I have
The
it.
bo-
I would like to rule
Okay.
out.
Go
D.
ahead, please.
I would
D.
like to rule out D, like in David.
Perform. Okay. Receive recent performance evaluations of the staff. That probably would not be on my agenda. I would agree with that.
Okay. Also, I would like to. Okay, and also A.
Okay. So now you're down to B or C. Okay, go back to the question, right? It's the board of directors. What they're measuring, right? They're measuring is, do you know how an agency runs, right? Do you know what the board of directors does? That's what they're measuring. So between B and C, what do you think is the best choice?
We're looking for funds. How are we going to run the agency? So C.
That's it. Okay, very good. Let me clarify this. When I ask people what the board of directors do, all I hear is finance. They do not go around writing checks. I'm on the board of directors of many agencies, okay? But we don't go around writing checks. We don't do that, okay? So they're normal people. You volunteer to be on the board of directors. The goal is the board of directors hires and fires the CEO. If there are going to be any major changes in the agency, that's what they do. And then also, if there's some financial issues, especially. So they got to approve my budget at the end of the year or the beginning of the fiscal year. And then if we're short money, then we have to cut some things. That comes from the board.
All right, thank you. Wow.
You're so welcome. Great job. Great job. Okay, did that make some sense to people that aren't always sure what the board does? Okay, they're not, most of you have never met the board of directors. They could care less what happens in the day-to-day agency. If you met them one time, it was because they were doing a tour. Okay, and if you want to join somebody's board, just ask them. It looks great on a resume. If you're still trying to build a resume, all you're really doing is offering. So on my board of my school, I have the community, the providers, right? Because my students have to do an internship. So then I want the people on my board to be the people in the community, right? That my students are going to be working for in the future. So I want to hear feedback on, is this class working? Is this what you need in the community? I want to understand, what's really going on out there. I work in the ivory tower. So my board then tells me kind of what's going on. And if we don't have any money, we figure out how to get up with the money, right? If there's something that I'd like to do on my board and my college may or may not agree, my board will fight for me. Okay. So they're not these big evil guys. Okay. Just so you know. 154. Kathy, you want this one? A social worker's client frequently calls between appointments to change appointment times. The social worker feels angry toward the client for the inconvenience. The social worker should first. Okay, so put the question in your own words. Okay, and then I'm going to rule out two. Which two can it not be first? I'll be honest with you. I was looking for a question that said seek supervision, right? I'm angry and it's countertransference. And whenever I have countertransference, I seek supervision. That's not there. Oh God, what am I going to do now? Okay, so I got to come up with a different answer.
I was looking for supervision. I couldn't.
I know that's the right answer, but it's not there, and it's not a
No.
write-in test, right? You can't.
I would say.
Rule out first.
Yeah, A.
Okay, you're ruling out A. Okay, because I can't tell the client what I think. You are correct.
I'd like to.
Me too. A is out. Okay.
B.
And explore the feelings to uncover aspects that might be helpful to the client. Okay, B is out. So now you're down to C or D.
Place a higher priority on the work between. Okay, frequently calls between to change appointments. Okay. Of course, the client limit contact with a social worker between appointments. Okay, I would say C, take C out. The answer is D.
Okay, request the client limit contact with the social worker between sessions. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, or answer would have been like, in the next session, we to explain the issues of boundaries and
Right.
or when we set up things, right? But anger, I'm like, where that my answer is seek supervision. So I know that you're going to get to the test, and the answer you want is not there because
Right.
Dr. Pam said, but it's not there, right? So you really
Well,
then
Dr. Pam, why isn't that one B?
Explore the feelings to uncover aspects that might be helpful to the client. If it said explore them with my supervisor, I would. Who am I going to explore them with?
Yourself.
It's the social worker's feelings they're talking about and not the client's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't want to put our feelings on the people.
So who said that?
But you
So
wouldn't be
who's talking to
exploring
me?
them with the person. You'd explore. Okay.
Explore the feelings to uncover aspects that might be helpful to the client. The client doesn't have a problem. I do.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Explore it with the client. I
Okay.
thought.
Okay, so it might be helpful to the client,
client.
but he's calling me and he's making me angry. That's my problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't want to seek supervision. So the best way, right? Request those, we set boundaries. Sounds like a borderline, doesn't it? That's who would call between, like, right? I know you saw me 15 minutes ago, but oh my God, it's a crisis right now. So,
Dr. Pam,
yes.
I wanted to ask, because just to make sure, and I do agree with the answer, but in
Well,
this
I'm
particular
glad.
in this particular question, though, if it's saying that the social worker is having the issue about being contacted
Mhm.
so often, that would be the main point and the first thing to do, right? By letting them know to reduce or request that they limit contacts between,
Okay,
because
so
it's what they're dealing with first is the constant calls.
okay, so exactly. So feelings, if my feelings are in the question, right? My things have to address the feelings somehow. And I was really looking for counter for, call supervisor, but that's not there. So the question now is the social worker feels angry toward the client for the inconvenience. So how do I best get rid of my anger, right? Because of the inconveniences. Of those four choices, how do I best do it? And what would I do first of those four choices?
Like I said, I go with D, most definitely.
You should.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I most definitely did. Yeah.
Well, good.
I mean,
Okay.
I did think about B at first, about exploring the social worker's feelings, but the fact was that if they were angry and getting frustrated because of the context in between and the inconvenience, then it was like, go back, set a boundary, and
So I'm trying to fix the problem first, right?
yeah,
I'm
yes,
just trying to fix the problem first. Okay, so explore the feelings to uncover aspects that might be helpful to the client. So the client always comes first, right? But I'm
yes.
angry. I can't deal with my anger. That's what's the best for the client, right? My stuff. So let's set the boundaries. Okay, that's the easiest thing first. $155. Somebody volunteer.
I'll go.
Well, thank you, Miss Davis. Is it Mrs. Davis? Miss Davis, thank you.
Okay.
155. A social worker
A-
reports. Go ahead. No, you read. Go ahead.
A social worker reports to the supervisor that a fellow employee ask her out for dates, even after she has refused and asked him to stop. The supervisor should. Okay, so the social worker reports to her supervisor that another social worker is asking her out, even after she shut him down.
Mhm.
So she wants to, the supervisor, they ask the questions asking what the supervisor should do.
Mhm.
And let me read them and rule out. Okay, tell the social worker to notify the supervisor if this behavior continues. B, discuss the normality of such behaviors in the workforce and assure her of her safety. Rule out B. C, notify the offending employee to stop the behaviors before they escalate into legal concerns. Okay. D, document the complaint and follow agency policy regarding sexual harassment. I'm
Rule out.
I'm ruling out A,
Okay.
ruling out B, definitely.
Okay. Now you're down to
And
C or D.
I'm ruling out C as a first.
Okay.
I would pick D.
Document a complaint and follow agency policy. Absolutely, absolutely, right? Sexual harassment is sexual harassment, right? Whether I'm a social worker or work in the grocery store, the rule's the rule. Okay. So that is what makes D the best answer. Very good. Very good. Okay. While you're there, Bertha, there are only 3 jobs the social work supervisor can play. What are those?
Oh, I wrote this down because it was something I struggle with. It's administrative.
Got it.
It's education, and it's the third one, support.
Yes.
Oh.
Right. And you support the client, that you support your supervisee when they're dealing with a client, right? So we could care less about their personal life or any of those other things. We cannot ever send another person to therapy. We can't say, gosh, you're crazy, go to therapy. We can send them to the EAP if it's a company process. And I can say, hey, go see your EAP person. We can always do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a recall question, 157. The preferred goal for permanency planning is what? A, severance and adoption. B, long-term foster care. C, voluntary relinquishment. Or D, family reunification. Our preferred goal is D, right? We believe that biological families belong with biological children. That is to the core of social work. That is our goal. However, in the question, if it says it's been like 6 months and mom and dad have done nothing to get their child back and the child is in a stable foster home, that's family reunification of getting mom and dad to TPR those rights. Okay. We want the child to be in a stable system, a stable home. We don't want them bouncing around your foster care for a million years. Okay. Okay. 159. Somebody volunteer. Katrina, are you there? Is it Katarina?
It's Katanya.
Katanya, I'm sorry, that's a little bitty print. Okay, so Katanya, I'm sorry. You ready?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
159, right?
Now? Yeah.
Okay. A mother has brought her 14-year-old daughter to see a social worker because of truancy, alcohol use, and oppositional behavior. During the course of the intake, the mother and daughter begin to argue about the answers given to the social worker. The social worker should. So mom has brought her 14-year-old daughter to see a social worker because of her behavior and alcohol and missing school. They begin to argue due to the answers given to the social worker. What should the social worker do first? A, recommend individual therapy for the daughter. B, facilitate the development of a process for conflict resolution. C, evaluate the daughter for substance abuse. D, refer the mother to a parent support group. So I'm going to rule out C and D.
Okay.
Because that's not what the social worker should do first. So that leaves me with A and B.
Okay.
A, recommend individual therapy for the daughter. And B, facilitate the development of a process for conflict resolution. Let me see, they're arguing in the social worker's office because they don't agree. First, I'm going to say B, facilitate the development of a process for conflict resolution.
Yes, you are.
Because they're arguing in the social worker's office because they don't agree on certain things.
Exactly. So first, they're in my office, right? They're in my office. We're going to deal with this right here and right now. Perfect. What's wrong with A? Why can't I do that?
You can, but it wouldn't be the first.
I cannot. I cannot.
Oh, you cannot. Okay.
Well, it depends. Let me take that back. Let me take that back. So, if they come in as a family, then I cannot. Okay. So this one in this case, it's not that clear. So this one would be okay. But remember, if they come in as a family, I can't see that kid by herself. Right.
Okay.
I know you do it in all the time in your offices, but you cannot do that. And that is not the right answer on the test. Okay.
Dr. Pam, before you move from this one. So in my mind, they came in together, so they're supposed to stay together. And the other concern, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Pam.
No, and so yeah, so A would not be right. Yes.
And the other part is, I know it's not in this question, but if they do come in together, but somebody has a substance abuse problem, we're supposed to refer that person out, right?
It depends on, doesn't it? So if someone comes in and they smell like alcohol and, and I ask them if they've been drinking and they're in denial, am I going to just say, get up and leave?
No,
I'm going to assess first. Okay. So we always hear, oh my gosh, there's substance abusers. We're going to assess before we do anything.
Even if they come in as a group, because I know we don't treat for any substance abuse.
So if the question says that the man says he's been using for the last 5 years, then of course I'm going to refer them out. But if he comes in and he says, I drink occasionally, I'm going to assess first. I'm going to ask more questions before I do anything. Does that make sense? I need to ask more questions.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm just thinking if they, like I saw a question where there was a whole family in, and each of the family member have different issues. One may have a substance abuse issues, which we don't treat. But never mind, I guess the question, I'll just answer whatever the question say.
What? You just read the question? What? Oh my God. Say it's not true. Okay, and Bertha, I want to say that though, because what happens a lot of times is we go with, I've heard, we that's what we do, and we see the word in the question and you automatically refer out. And we haven't even read the question, right? So it's a reading test. I'm going back to the question. How do I know? How do I know?
Got it. Answer my own question. Thank you.
Yes, you did. You're just talking out loud. That helps, right? Okay. 43. Okay, let's see here. Nicole, you wanted one, didn't you?
Yeah, I'll take one. 43.
43. Can you see it? Is it big enough?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
A young woman seeks a social worker's help in alleviating stress from her life. She is underweight and was diagnosed with Graves' disease 7 months ago. She states that she is experiencing nervousness in her job and is having a difficult time concentrating. The social worker's first step would be to So first I'm going to tell you what's going on with her. So you're a social worker working with one young woman and she's underweight. She's been diagnosed with Graves' disease.
Do you know what Graves' disease is?
It's something with a thyroid, correct?
It is, but you might see a question about the eyes because that's the giveaway. And so it's called the Graves' disease with the eyes. Your eyes are protruding. So Wendy Williams, like she was the talk show person, when your thyroid is out of whack, that's what it looks like. So the eyes, they're about to pop
Mm-hmm.
out. Okay.
Yep.
Just a piece of useless information, but go to work tomorrow and impress somebody. Did you know you look like you have? Okay, so just so you know.
Thank you.
Go back to the question. Okay.
Okay. She said she's experiencing nervousness in her job and she's starting to have difficulty concentrating. What would be this first step I should do?
Rule out.
I would first rule out B, speak with the woman's family.
Okay.
And C, work out a behavioral program.
Okay.
So I'm gonna, and I'm gonna rule out D, have the woman's medication increased.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with A.
Okay. So I'm gonna rule out medical, right? There's not enough for me to diagnose. All those things are going on, right? Let me make sure there's nothing medical going on. Okay, does that make sense? So that's one of the things, right? Especially in the question when there's so much going on, like, oh my gosh, I have no idea when I can't diagnose. So the doctor's the best answer. Everybody good with that one? Uh, 45. Peter, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Take 45.
Yes, ma'am. I'm here. In an initial interview, a client becomes belligerent and threatening for no apparent reason. The social worker should first share his or her concerns with the client, firmly tell the client to quiet down, call security, ask the client to reschedule at another time. So let's see the interview. So it's my first interview with someone. They become belligerent and threatening for no apparent reason. Well, I'm not going to call security.
Okay.
And
Jennifer, I saw your face. Jennifer's like, I would. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think I'd firmly tell the client to quiet down because that might just escalate the situation.
So you're A and D.
I would rule out D too. I would say A for sure. I would just express what I'm seeing. Maybe that'll help a little to make some conversation take place there about it.
And that's the best answer. So why? I know you're ruled out, but what words in the question prove it to me?
Well, because it's the initial interview and I'm still assessing, but how can I assess if a person becomes belligerent and threatening for no reason? And maybe if I share what I'm seeing, maybe that's what
sharing my concerns is acknowledging their feelings.
Okay.
So belligerent and threatening are feelings. And I don't know why he's coming in. It's for no apparent reason, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I don't know why. And Jennifer, I saw you, so be careful in the question. It does not say that the social worker is afraid, does it? It doesn't say that, right? So unless it says in the question that she's afraid, then I'm not going to call security. Right? It's a reading test. So belligerent and threatening are just feelings. Okay. Don't put anything into those words that are not there. Let's do 91. He wants this one. She's 60.
I'll take it. A 60-year-old woman has recently been hospitalized with delusional disorder. She is convinced that her neighbor is able to access her thoughts through the telephone line. Which of the following approaches should the social worker not take in dealing with this individual's delusion? All right.
So for me, and on the test, the not is not always capitalized, right? Sometimes we read over it. So I read the nots as 3 of these are not, and 1 of these is true. That's how it, for me, because they make me crazy. Okay.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay. So which of the following should the social worker not take in dealing with this? What would I not do? Would I A, emphasize with how vulnerable she must be feeling? Take that out.
Okay.
Acknowledge how difficult it must be to be hospitalized. I'm gonna keep that for now. Acknowledge how real the delusions feel to the client.
So my thinking is I would do that, right? I would do B. I would acknowledging how difficult it must be, right? I would do that. C, I would acknowledge.
I won't.
So
I wouldn't come.
Yeah. Go ahead.
D, I won't confront her.
Exactly. We never confront anyone in their
Sorry, I was
delusions.
taking
They're
forever
very
with that,
real. Okay. And erotomania, Barack Obama's in love with me, and don't anyone dare tell me it's not true. You don't ever confront anyone in their delusions. Let me be. Okay. Never, 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 never. Okay. I'm going to go back to 90. Let's see here. Somebody isn't taking the test and their window is closed. Gloria, are you there?
Hi, Dr. Pam. Yes, I'm here.
How are you? Can you take 90 for me? Will you be brave?
Sure. A social worker in private practice has been working with a male client who is a successful businessman in his community. The client is not making progress in therapy and has a habit of blaming others for his relationship problems with his family. A method of helping the client become more self-aware by bringing to light components of his thoughts, feelings, or behaviors of which he is unaware is called.
Okay. So make sure I understand the question. Right? Make sure I can get it repeated in my own words. So I know what they're asking me.
So I'm in private practice. I'm working with a male client. He's a successful businessman in his community. He's not making progress in therapy and has a habit of blaming others for relationship problems. And the method of helping this client become self-aware, just to help him bring light to the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of which he is unaware is called summarizing, confronting, active listening, reflective listening. Okay, you said something about reflective listening. Just
reflective listening always includes feelings. Okay? I'm giving back feelings that the client may or may not said. Okay.
I'm not going to do B.
Okay. You know what? The answer is B.
I
know, but I heard all the time, we never confront, we don't confront. So when there are incongruent statements, when things don't match, it's okay to confront. Okay. So, and thank you, Gloria, but we hear it all the time, right? We don't confront, we don't confront. And in this situation, okay, so Gloria, tell me why I'm going to confront. Which things don't line up?
He has a habit of blaming others for his relational problems, and it doesn't seem like he's self-aware of what he's doing.
Okay. He's not making any progress in therapy, and he's blaming other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then, if you don't take ownership, then stop coming. So I'm going to confront him on that behavior because he keeps coming, yet he's not taking ownership. So that's incongruent. He's telling me something, but his body is doing something else. So that's incongruency. Okay. And
So when we find in the question that there is an incongruency such as this,
always. Yes. That's when it's okay to confront. Now, most often it's going to be a drug or alcohol user, right? Because we know that drug and alcohol users, if they're speaking, they're lying. So many times we're going to confront those. But anytime they're incongruent statements, they don't match body and language, mouth, my mouth and my body language don't match, call me on it, right?
Oh,
So
that's your example about the Kentucky Fried Chicken.
That's right, girl. If I sit there eating, I'm telling you, I'm trying to lose weight. You'll say, Dr. Pam? Okay, so please call me on it. You see me eating Oreos. Call me on it. Okay, so remember, summarizing is at the end, always at the end of the conversation or the beginning. So, I can say, so, hey, so last week we covered this and this and this. So let's go ahead and start right here today, right? Summarizing. And then active listening. Active listening is the whole set of skills. So I may not say anything. Silence is part of active listening. I'm going to, it's making eye contact and, I'm leaning in. I'm letting you know with my presence that I am listening to you. Okay. So that's active listening. When my husband was around, I would say, at least pretend, like, look at me when I'm talking. Just look at me. You don't have to really listen. Just make me feel like you're listening, right? So that's what it is. Looking at them, letting them know that you are paying attention to what they're saying. Okay, good.
Thank you.
I'm going to do 92, and I'm just going to tell you. So you might see some of those research questions on there. They're about 4 or 5, and I always say, please don't give them up. They're easy. And this one also, you might see this one into the community questions. So a social worker interested in conducting a study of drug use among adults of different ethnic backgrounds. Which of the following sampling strategies is most apt to yield a sample that reflects the ethnic composition of the area? Most apt is like most likely. That's all that means. Okay. So simple random, that just means I'm going outside and everybody in the world has the same choice of being in it, right? That's really the definition. Like anybody else in the whole wide world has a chance of being in my research. So that's just sample. Convenience is just because it's convenient, right? If I'm in the office, I'm going to ask you, or I might put to all of my friends in Facebook and ask them a question. That's just because it's easy. That's random sampling. So then snowball sampling. Snowball sampling is when you've got something, most often it is a question that if you put a flyer out there, no one would answer. So let's say that I'm trying to do research on women who are married and their husband is not the baby's father, right? I put that on Facebook. Who's going to call me? No one's going to do that, right? So snowball sampling is I try to find 1 or 2 people, right, that are in the situation. And then I'll say to them, do you know anyone else in that situation? Anyone else who might share? And the goal is like a snowball. It'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger until I have enough to complete my research. Okay, so snowball is only used when I really can't. It's something that people aren't going to volunteer for. Okay. Do you know anybody who's currently being treated for herpes? Oh yeah, me. Let me know. Things like that. That's what you're going to use it for. So stratified sampling, and you might also see proportional stratified sampling. So stratified sampling means that I want to get people of different ethnicities, different genders, different sexual orientations, right? I want to stratify. I want to make sure I cover everybody. So we know that the United States is like 60% white. So if I go and stand in front of my Walmart, that's not going to necessarily represent the USA, right? Because this population doesn't always match. So if I want to make sure that I want on different ethnicities, then I'm going to make sure that I stratify. I want 5 Black people, I want 5 brown people, 5 blue people, whatever. Okay, so that's stratified. Proportionally stratified, that is definitely what you'll see in community. So what happened in the community situation, remember the majority wins, and we don't want that. That's what's always happened. So we treat the brown, the Black, the poor, the disenfranchised. So if we want proportionally stratified sampling, then what question you might see is, so you've got this, you've been holding for this community, and the community is kind of divided by racial lines, and they want to make a decision. They can't figure out how to make the decision. So if I do like, okay, everybody just come and, everybody just come to the meeting and we'll just do it that way, I'm still going to get the majority white, right? Because that's the way it works. Proportional stratified means that everybody's going to get the same. So the Black people get 2 votes, the white people get 2 votes, the Chinese get 2 votes, the Asian gets 2 votes, whoever, right? Let's run more like our Senate than Congress. It's 2. So that's making sure that everybody that represents the ethnicities gets the same amount of power, the same amount of say-so. Okay, good with that one? In community, majority rule has always won, right? Those is the golden rule. Those who have the gold set the rules, and that's not what we want. Our job is to redistribute the resources among our have-nots. Okay. 93, a client who is 16 years old lost a leg in a serious automobile accident 4 years ago. Before the accident, the client excelled in sports. Since the accident, he has devoted himself to developing computer proficiency. A psychoanalytic orientated social worker would account for this client's post-accident obsession with computers as well. Psychoanalytic means it's a Freudian, right? All of my defense mechanisms are unconscious. That's a Freudian thing. That's all that means. Psychoanalytic is what we used to do 3 to 5 years laying on my couch, paying me lots of money. That was so great. Now we do psychodynamic, right? So same theory, same unconscious, bring the conscious to the unconscious. Freud said defense mechanisms were there to protect my ego, right? So then which defense mechanism is this? And anyone can answer.
C.
Compensation. Compensation. Yes. Very good, right? So compensating is an area that I feel like I am not, I'm trying to make up for areas that I feel like I'm not adequate enough. Right? So the dads who, or the moms who want to see their kids on weekends, and they come bringing like tons of toys and, all fun and never set rules, because they feel guilty because they're not seeing that kid 7 days or the other 5 days of the week. So he's compensating or overcompensating. Okay. Conversion. What does that look like? Kathy, I saw that click on. What is it, Kathy?
Conversion. That sounds like something negative.
Not necessarily.
Oh, conversion.
Conversion disorder.
Conversion.
Bertha, did you have? Yeah, Bertha, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, conversion is like if you blind with rage, you can't see, like you physically can't see out of your eyes.
So yes, but in the question, a trauma has to happen. Something traumatic has happened, and now physically part of me doesn't work. It's a central nervous system disorder, like something kind of just clicked in their brain, but there's no organic. That means there's no physical reason for that to be there. But it's always a trauma. A woman saw a kid get hit by a car, and now she can't walk. So it's trauma related. So I've converted that trauma into a physical illness or physical problem. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Reaction formation. Remember, I am forming a reaction totally opposite than how I really feel. I'm trying to hide my real feelings, right? So that's what that means. I'm trying to hide my real feelings so that I'm going to react totally different. Okay. So, I lose my job and I'm not really sure, how I'm going to feed the kids next week, and I'm going to worry about what we're going to do. So instead of letting anybody know that we're broke, I'm going to take them on a huge trip and live life up. So I'm forming a reaction totally opposite than what's really going on. So you won't know what's going on. Okay. Couple more guys. I know it's late. So 94. Rolanda is a 27-year-old female who is referred to a social worker for issues regarding depression and anxiety. As the social worker interviewed Rolanda, the client reported that when she feels depressed and anxious, she finds herself eating more than I should. Quotation marks always means they're talking to you, always, okay? Rolanda eats when she's not hungry, and once she starts eating, she's able to stop until she feels uncomfortably full. She's been doing these things on an average of twice a week for the past 6 months. Hint, hint, diagnostic, right? Rolanda feels guilty and disgusted with herself, I guess. She appears to be overweight, but she is not obese. The best diagnosis is what? Bulimia, overeating disorder, binge eating, or major depression. Anybody? Oh, it's so quiet.
I was gonna say C.
And you should. Very good. Very good. Is B an answer? Is B a diagnosis?
No.
It is not. It is not. B is not a diagnosis, okay? And binge eating is specifically defined, right? So twice a week for the past 6 months, that's binge eating, okay? If I binge eat and then I throw it up, or I exercise, I do something to get rid of the calories, right? That's bulimia. Bulimics are regular size, okay? Anorexics are tiny, you'll know. And the question of bulimics are regular size. It'll say an average size woman. Okay, so it's a reading test. All of those questions are all those answers are right there. It's exactly what you're looking for. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap you up. Yeah. Okay, questions? Did I give you a better idea of what to look for in the question, of how to assess, how to gather information, make sure that I address the feelings first? Okay. First, I saw you raise your hand, or no?
Yes, these were good. Mine is not related to this. I noticed I've been missing questions on when to be silent.
Mm-hmm. So silence is okay for a little bit. If it says the client sat there quietly for a few minutes, good. If it says the client has been silent for quite a long period, or something that lets me know this is more than just like a couple of minutes, I have to address it. Okay, and I might say something like, so reflection would be address feelings. So I'm going to say something, wow, you're sitting silently. Are you feeling sorry? Are you feeling bad? Are you worried? Something that the question has said, right? I'm going to give the feelings back. Silence is good both for the social worker as well as the client, okay? But remember, in the real world and for the test, if a client drops a bomb, do not stay silent. It is the worst thing ever, right? I've been having sex with my dad for the last 3 weeks. And your gut is like, ah! Right? On the inside, you cannot do that. You cannot not say anything, okay? You've got to respond. I teach my interns, okay? At least say, thank you for sharing. If it gives you a moment to like regroup, okay? Because you cannot do that to someone. They've taken their risk and they share something major with you. You cannot be silent, okay? That's like, I'm embarrassed enough already. Please say something. So practice that, because please don't ever do that to a client. That's really never okay.
Thank you.
Other questions? It's been a pleasure, guys. I think Nadia's gone. She's testing tomorrow. You got this, Nadia. Yay. Bye, guys. Remember, no group next week. I said it already. Bye.